July 20th, 2021. Milwaukee. Game 6 of the NBA Finals. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter. A 26-year-old kid from Athens steps to the free throw line for the 17th time that night. The arena holds its breath. Not because of the score. Milwaukee is leading. Not because of fatigue. He's already dropped 38 points. The arena holds its breath because everyone in that building, everyone watching at home, everyone who has ever paid attention to basketball, knows one thing for an absolute fact. Giannis Antetokounmpo cannot shoot free throws. His percentage that season, 68. In the playoffs, under 60. 2 months earlier, the entire Atlanta arena had counted out loud, mocking him, fans synchronizing their voices to break his rhythm. And here he is. Game 6. Title on the line. 17th attempt. He bounces the ball 3 times. Spins it once. Looks up. Releases. Swish. He will go 17 for 19 from that line on the night. He will finish with 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. He will become, in the next 20 minutes, the only human being in the history of professional basketball to do what he is about to do. But you already know he won the title. Everybody knows that. That's not the story. The story is buried inside one statistic so specific, so absurd, so quietly impossible, that most fans have never heard it spoken out loud. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear it, because it changes how you see everything he's ever done on a basketball court. So let me take you back. Not to the finals, not to the MVP awards. All the way back. Sapolia, Athens, 2008. A neighborhood on the outskirts of the Greek capital where, if you have the wrong skin color and the wrong passport, the police can stop you 20 times in a single afternoon. A boy walks down the street with his older brother Thanasis. They are carrying sunglasses, counterfeit watches, knockoff bags. They sell them to tourists when they can find tourists. When they can't, they go home with empty pockets, and their mother divides one plate of food into 4 portions. The boy's name is Giannis. He is 13 years old. He is 6 feet tall and weighs maybe 120 pounds. He has never touched a basketball in any serious way. He doesn't know what the NBA is. He has no Greek citizenship. He was born in Athens to Nigerian parents, which in the eyes of the Greek state at that time meant he existed in a kind of legal nowhere. No papers, no identity. He cannot leave the country. He cannot prove who he is. He exists, but he doesn't exist. And here is the first thing you need to understand before we get to the impossible statistic. The kid you are about to watch dominate the best basketball league on earth. He did not grow up playing basketball. He did not have AAU coaches scouting him at 12. He did not have private trainers. He did not have shoes. There are interviews where he describes sharing one pair of sneakers with his brother. One of them would play the first half of practice, take off the shoes, hand them to the other, who would play the second half. They were not poor in the abstract American way. They were poor in the way where dinner is a real question every night. He picks up a basketball seriously around age 13. By 17, he's playing in Greece's second division, getting paid €500 a month, most of which he hands to his mother. By 18, he's drafted into the NBA. By 19, he's living alone in Milwaukee, in winter, in a city that gets 50 inches of snow a year, having never seen snow in his life, sleeping on an air mattress because he doesn't want to spend money on a bed. He sends most of his rookie paycheck home to Athens. He once missed a team flight because he was trying to figure out how to walk to practice. He didn't want to spend on a cab. This is the context. Hold it in your head. Because what happens next is not just unlikely, it is statistically, historically, mathematically, by every measurable standard, without precedent. 8 years after he arrives in Milwaukee, skinny, awkward, foreign, with no jump shot and no English, he wins his first MVP. The next year he wins MVP again, back to back. He wins Defensive Player of the Year that same season. Only 3 players in the entire history of the league have ever held MVP and DPOY in the same year. Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That alone is rare air. But that's still not the statistic. That's still not the thing nobody else has ever done. Here it is. Listen carefully because this is going to sound like a normal sentence, and it is not a normal sentence. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the only player in NBA history to win Most Valuable Player, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, and Most Improved Player. All four. No one else. Not Jordan, not LeBron, not Kareem, not Magic, not Bird, not Shaq, not Duncan, not Kobe. Not one player in 78 years of professional basketball has ever collected all four of those trophies. Only Giannis. And the reason this matters, the reason this is not just trivia, is what those four awards together actually represent. MVP says you are the best player in the league at your peak. Defensive Player of the Year says you are the best defender in the league at your peak. Finals MVP says you carried your team to the championship and were the single most decisive player when it mattered most. And Most Improved Player. That's the one nobody talks about, and that's the one that breaks the whole pattern. Most Improved Player is, by design, an award for someone who was not that good before. It's an award that, by definition, the all-time greats never win. Because the all-time greats arrived in the league already great. Jordan came in averaging 28 points his rookie year. LeBron came in as a generational talent the entire country had been watching since he was 15. Kareem was the best college player in America before he ever turned pro. None of them were ever in a position to be most improved. You can't dramatically improve when you started at the top. Giannis won Most Improved in 2017. That same human being then went on to win 2 regular season MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a Finals MVP. Think about what that means. It means he started so far below the elite tier that he qualified for the bottom-up award. And then he climbed past every player in the league. Past the top scorers, past the top defenders, past every player history had been calling great for the last 20 years. He won the trophy you win when you are not great yet. And then he won every trophy you win when you are the best in the world. That is the gap nobody else has ever traveled. Not in 78 seasons. Not in thousands of players. Not in dozens of Hall of Famers. The distance between Most Improved Player and Finals MVP is supposed to be impossible to cross in one career. He crossed it. And he didn't crawl across it. He won an MVP 3 years after winning Most Improved. 3 years. 3. Now think back to that free throw. Game 6, 2021. 17th attempt. Because once you understand the climb, once you understand that this is a man who was selling watches on the street at 13, who couldn't shoot, who couldn't speak the language, who showed up to the league a stick figure who would get bullied off the ball in college, you start to understand why that free throw matters. He shot 68% from the line, below average, embarrassingly below average for a superstar. Every opponent knew it, every commentator mentioned it. It was the one weakness, the one button you could press. And in the most pressurized 18 minutes of his life, with a championship hanging from the rim, he went 17 for 19. He got better in the moment when other people get worse. He climbed in the moment when other people freeze. That's not luck. That's the same thing that turned a kid with no basketball pedigree into the best player in the world. He climbs. That is his single defining trait. He climbs in a season. He climbs in a quarter. He climbs in a possession. And he climbs in his career. Across an arc that nobody else has ever drawn. Here's a detail that doesn't get enough attention. After he won the championship, in the locker room, soaked in champagne, somebody handed him a microphone. He didn't talk about himself. He talked about his father, Charles, who died in 2017, who never saw his son lift the trophy. He talked about his mother, Veronica, who used to sell things on the street with him. And then he said something that should be carved into the side of the arena. He said, "I hope this is going to give everybody around the world hope. I hope kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old can see it. I'm not Steve Nash who, comes from a great family. I'm just a normal kid, and I figured it out. A normal kid who figured it out. 2 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Finals MVP, a Most Improved trophy, and he describes himself as a normal kid who figured it out. Maybe that's the actual unprecedented thing. Not the trophies, not the statistics. The fact that a person can collect every honor the sport offers and still describe himself in those words. But let's stay with the stats for one more minute. Because the climb keeps going. In 2023, Giannis dropped 64 points against the Pacers, the most points scored in a single game by any Bucks player in franchise history, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Same season, he averaged 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting 55%. Only one other player in NBA history has ever put up that exact line for a full season. That player's name is Oscar Robertson, and the year was 1962. The league had 9 teams. There was no three-point line. The conditions were not comparable. Functionally, in the modern game, Giannis stands alone. He has multiple seasons of 30-plus points, 11-plus rebounds, 5-plus assists on 55%-plus shooting. Only one other player in modern history has even one such season. That player is Giannis again. The next closest player has 0. There is him, and there is empty space, and then there is everyone else. If you want to argue about who the best player of his generation is, you can argue. People will name LeBron, Curry, Durant, Jokic, all valid. But if you ask a different question, who has made the steepest climb in the entire history of the sport? Who started the lowest and reached the highest? There is no argument. There is one answer. And if you watch his games now and don't see that climb in every possession, you're missing the story. Quick favor while we're here. If this is the kind of story you want more of, the kind where we dig past the highlight reel and into what actually makes a player historically unprecedented, drop the word climb in the comments. One word. That's it. It tells me which version of these breakdowns you want me to keep making, the deep ones or the surface ones. And subscribe if you haven't, because the next one I'm working on is going to do the same kind of excavation on a player most casual fans completely misunderstand. You'll want to see it. Back to him. There's a moment I keep returning to. Not the 50-point Game 6. Not the MVP speeches. A smaller one. 2013. Right after the draft, he flies into New York. He's wearing a suit that doesn't quite fit. ESPN does a quick interview. The reporter asks him what his goal is. He says, in broken English, that he wants to help his family. He wants to bring his brothers to the United States. He wants his mother to never have to work again. That was the goal. Not MVP, not Finals MVP, not Most Improved, not Defensive Player of the Year. Help his family. And here's where the story closes. Because he did that. He bought his mother a house. He brought all his brothers to America. He paid for the Greek citizenship paperwork his family had been denied for 2 decades. He created a foundation that pays for food and rent for families in Athens neighborhoods, where kids are growing up the way he grew up. He did the small thing first, the big things, the MVPs, the rings, the historic stat lines. Those came as a side effect of the small thing. They were what happened while he was busy keeping his promise to a 13-year-old version of himself who used to walk home with empty pockets. That's the part nobody else has done. Not the trophies. The trophies are countable. You can list them. The thing he actually did that nobody else in the league's history has matched. He climbed from a place none of them ever stood, with nothing in his hands when he started, and he turned every single rung of that climb into proof for some other kid somewhere watching a screen. That the distance is possible. That you can start at Most Improved and end at Finals MVP. That a counterfeit watch salesman from Sepolia can stand at midcourt in Milwaukee holding the most coveted trophy in basketball, soaked in champagne, and his first thought is not about himself. So when you hear someone say, casually, that Giannis is a great player, they're not wrong, they're just not finishing the sentence. He's not just a great player. He's the only player in the recorded history of the National Basketball Association to do what he has done. Statistically, personally, historically. The trophy case proves it. The biography proves it. The free throws in Game 6 prove it. And the climb isn't over. He's still in his early 30s. There are more chapters coming. More awards. Probably more rings. Probably more nights where the impossible thing happens and the rest of the league has to figure out what to do about it. But the record is already set. The thing nobody else has done is already done. He did it. The skinny kid from Athens, with no shoes, with no papers, with no jump shot, he climbed past every name in the book. And he's still climbing. Watch him while you can. We are not going to see this kind of arc again. Probably not in our lifetimes. Maybe not ever,